Hey Disney Cruisers, and welcome back to the DCL community where we are here to help you plan, prepare for, and get excited for your Disney cruise. You guys know me, I'm Rebecca, your host and your admin of the DCL community. And today we're doing a deep dive into what seems to be a very popular port.
Yeah, I
Chrissy, I'll
was
let
so
you
surprised.
Right? It seemed like nobody
Yeah.
was really talking about New York. And when Disney said that they weren't going back, it was just outrage. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, as people are coming in, please say hello. Let us know if you've cruised from New York before or if it's a port that you're obviously if you're here, you're interested. But let us know where you're watching from so that we can say hi. And as people are coming in, Chrissy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, guys. I'm Chrissy O'Kane. I am one of your recommended agents with DCL community. I love being part of this community. And I'm super excited about this presentation because this is really like the meat and bones about why you need a travel agent. Because I love finding creative solutions for my clients, right? Anybody can pop online and find a cruise and hope for the best. But when you don't know what's out there, that's why you come to me. I'm going to tell you what is out there. And I'm really excited about this presentation. We're going to have some cool creative conversations about how to get the best cruise for my New England and New York area clients.
Yes, and there are lots of options. I know as a former New Yorker, I am so excited for this one because I knew Disney was there. You could see it from the apartment and you just wanted to run out and hop on board every time
You could
she
see
was
it
in
from your
port.
apartment?
Don't
That is
get me
so
started.
cool.
The amount of self-restraint that I had to have to not just jump on or beg
Oh
and
my
plead.
goodness.
I know, but oh man, I'm excited to learn more about this one. And as we're going through, if you guys have any questions, please say hello. Let us know, of course, where you guys are watching from and how we can help. But you guys can also reach out to Chrissy. That is her contact info. I'll get that up on screen for everybody. Send her an email. She is extremely responsive. And as we go through this, you're going to see just how knowledgeable she is, not just about New York, but about cruise ports around the world. She is what I call the queen of cruising, and you're going to see a little bit of why today. But let's go ahead and jump in, and then if you guys have any questions, just let us know.
Let's do it. Alrighty, so we made this presentation with the mindset of like, hey, let's talk about what other options you have in New York. But I know my Disney Cruise Line clients are like, no, there are not other cruise lines. It doesn't matter. So I do want to kind of go through how you can still sail with Disney Cruise Line. And I might be a little bit non-sympathetic to my New Yorker and my Florida clients, being somebody that lives in Virginia. And I live in the part of Virginia that is like nowhere near the ocean. So, I always have to fly or drive a ridiculous amount of time to get like the closest cruise port of Norfolk is still like 5 hours for me. Oh, wow. I'm the best. Thanks. Cool comment. Love it.
Yes, Chrissy is the best.
But so for all of my New York clients or New England area, I even upper mid-Atlantic people that are so used to being able to drive to a port, you do have an option outside of an airline to get to Disney Cruise Line. It's Amtrak. And before you're like, whoa, who does Amtrak? Girl, I do Amtrak, okay? But the opposite route. I take it Virginia to New York to sail with other cruise lines. But it's an awesome option, okay? There's going to be some numbers in here that are like, I don't know about that, because it is a full 21 to 23 hours, depending on which route you do. The Silver Star, it's going to be closer to 23 hours. The Silver Meteor is a little bit faster because it doesn't have as many stops in between, but it's still 21 hours New York to Orlando. But the cool thing about it is that it's usually about 11 a.m. leaving New York and a 9 a.m.-ish arrival in Orlando, which is it's overnight. So a lot of that 21 hours you're sleeping. It's okay, right? Yeah. You're sleeping. And there's just so many reasons that the train to cruise is much more practical and superior than airplane to cruise, right? And I promise you this, right? I do train to cruise personally a lot. You can really take advantage of being able to bring beverages on board. You can't really do that when you're flying. It's very difficult. With a train, sure, pack it. There's no luggage fees. If you're a chronic overpacker like me, no worries. Pack enormous suitcases, totally okay. Bring them on board the train, totally okay. There's Wi-Fi the whole time. It's great. And you have a lot more space to relax. It's not like a constricted airplane. Really big seats. You can walk around the train once you get on board, if you're in coach class, it is open seating. Business class, it is assigned seating, but coach class is open seating. So you pick your seat. You can travel with your family. There's like seats that are like 2 seats facing this way, 2 seats facing this way, and a little table in between. So like a family of 4 can hang out, play games, chat. It's great. And you can get up and go to the cafe car for a different, change of space. It's an awesome option. And also price point is great, right? I went through all of summer. I really focused this presentation on summer 2025 because that's the big, like, people were disappointed about no New York, right? So if you still want to cruise on Disney Cruise Line summer 2025, you can book Amtrak for 110-ish to 130-ish, depending on the day of the week, New York to Orlando, no problem. It does go all the way to Miami, so you can make Fort Lauderdale and Port work as well. But it's going to be even longer. And if you were doing that, I would honestly recommend to get off in Orlando and then Brightline down. It'll be a little bit faster, a little bit more efficient. And for some reason, that Orlando to Miami leg of Amtrak is also really expensive. I don't know why. So just get off in Orlando. But anyway, so you can still sail DCL without flying if you are from the New York area. I just want you to know that. It's a long time in a train, but it is doable. And it's reasonably priced as well.
I was going to say, New Yorkers, we are used to being on trains, and this one is going to be much nicer than some of the subway cars that we are all very used to. And I know I've seen some of the sleeping accommodations. I mean, the train system has come such a long way, as all things have. So this is a great option. And I do see the question coming in a couple of times now, is Disney Cruise Line ever going to return to New York? And that's something we just don't know about, right?
We just don't know, right? All we know as of right now is, we have the schedule for all of the fleet, right? I see it all the time. Like, when are they going to release like more? No, that's it. Right now, there are only 7 ships, and the 7th one isn't actively sailing yet, right? That's all we know. This is it. This is it, right? This is the whole fleet. It's been released. So through summer 2025, we know every single sailing. This is what they're doing. And so we know that through summer 2025, New York is not on the itinerary list. Could it come after that? Sure, maybe. I would predict it's a little bit unlikely, right? Looking at where the fleet is assigned, right? We have a long-term contracts with Puerto Canaveral and Fort Lauderdale. That's taking up half of the fleet. And so that really only leaves a few ships to rotate around. And we're seeing that some of the other ports are selling out, right? People want LA. People really love the Galveston sailings. Those sailings sold really fast. People want New Orleans back. And also people want more than one ship in Europe to do multiple European itineraries. So that takes up everything. And we also, of course, know that the Wonder is going to be doing Alaska, or maybe a new ship will start doing Alaska eventually, but we know that's going to take one ship out of that rotational, ship allotment. And so I just don't see New York coming back for as long term. They may do something sneaky like some of the other cruise lines are doing, which I'll get to later. I could totally see a very short stint in New York come back. I could totally see that happening. But if I had to predict, I would say that it's historically one of the most expensive ports for cruise lines to port out of. There's a lot of competition in there, and they're all doing very similar itineraries, so it's really hard to stand out. And Disney Cruise Line is doing very well in Florida. So, I think that's where we're going to see their ships primarily allotted.
Yeah, and I was going to say, if that's a port that's really important to you guys, Disney's great about listening to feedback, but you can't just complaining to the internet. And I will always listen to you, but as will Chrissy. We could talk about cruising until we're blue in the face, but let Disney know if that port is important. I know a lot of the feedback I always heard about New York was about the weather, the rocky lanes out to Bermuda that, had some hit or misses, but there are some really great options and they're not all freezing cold. People think of New York as being cold, but it gets plenty warm.
Plenty warm.
Yeah. So I would say, so people are asking, when's the fall New York schedule going to come out? We don't know if Disney's ever going to go back to New York. We don't know yet. So stay tuned. And I think the best way to do that would be reach out to Chrissy. That's the link. And I'll put this in the comments for everybody again as well. But get on her mailing list, because as soon as Disney drops those itineraries, she can let you know. And then when the hold times are crazy, she can wait on hold and get that booked for you.
Absolutely.
The best way to do it. But let's keep going. And you guys keep the questions coming.
Alrighty, so now, okay, we're not feeling the train. We don't want to drive. Let's talk about flying. And I really think that, if you're going to fly anyway, why not fly far, right? So really a flight New York to Florida that's still going to be a full day. just because you could risk it and try to fly that morning before the cruise, but that's literally the worst cruise advice that anybody could ever give you, right? So you want to fly in the day before anyway. So why not fly further and do a family vacation that's a little bit more unique, right? You could fly to Vancouver. That's going to be an amazing sailing on the Wonder, doing an Alaska itinerary, going to be so, so cool. Or fly to Galveston. And there's really a lot, I think, of good reasons to do this. Galveston has 2 airports that are, really both serve the cruise terminal just as well. And Rebecca and I did a whole video just about the port of Galveston and Vancouver too. But between those 2 airports, Hobby is actually a Southwest hub. And then IAH has a lot of different carriers. So you can really get great flights from nearly anywhere in the country to Galveston. And then those sailings are generally the lowest price per night across all of Disney Cruise Line. Now, one catch, part of the reason why they are lower is that because we're sailing out of Texas, Castaway is very far away. So those sailings do not typically go to Castaway unless you're doing a very long route. There are a couple. You can see my our awesome Galveston video, but most of the Galveston sailings do not go to Castaway Cay. So because of that, that is part of the reason why the price is lower, but you are still getting an amazing cruise, and you're getting a great value too. And the other thing is, let's look at transatlantic flight options. Again, lots of carriers. This does involve kind of like stalking flight prices for a while, really trying to get a good deal to get it down to a reasonable price point. But then now you're combining family cruising on Disney Cruise Line with European exploring for ultimate value. So in the case of my clients that really are like loyal DCL New York cruisers that want to stick with DCL, but New York's not an option, let's consider other options, right? You don't have to do Caribbean out of Florida. DCL is doing a lot of cool itineraries that we can look into. And we can look at other ones too. We can look at the Trans-Pacifics. We can look at the Hawaiis. But these are ones that I think you can really get for about the same price point that you were paying previously for those Bermudas out of New York previously.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point. There are so many great itineraries, and I know I'm guilty of just wanting to do Castaway again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
But you just see the pictures of Alaska and these European destinations. There's a lot out there, guys. And I think it's time. All of us, we got to do this together. We got to go explore.
Go explore. Exactly. But all right, let's talk about other options actually sailing kind of out of New York. I'll be honest, Royal Caribbean and Celebrity are really my 2. I focused this kind of portion of the presentation on what my first go-to recommendation is for DCL clients. There are plenty of cruises out of New York that I didn't include. There are lots of other options, but these are going to be my top ones. And Royal and Celebrity both technically sail out of New Jersey, just to keep that in mind, but it's right there still. Mm-hmm. And Royal has 2 ships, and they are a very different experience. And the coolest thing is that most of them visit Perfect Day at Coco Cay. Most of those sailings do. And they're really different ships as far as size, right? Symphony is enormous. Liberty is like medium large. And so, whereas I say like Liberty is like the large size value or combo meal at McDonald's, Symphony is like the family size meal at McDonald's where there's 4 burgers and 4 chicken nuggets, right? It's got all the stuff,
Love it.
And I put up pictures of the back of these 2 ships to really highlight the strengths of Royal Caribbean compared to Disney Cruise Line is the stuff on board. Right? You've got multiple slides and a surf simulator and a rock wall and bumper cars on, like just so much fun stuff going on. These are really great for active families. I think they're also really good for foodies. And that's just something that I feel like doesn't get mentioned when we talk Royal Caribbean, but the specialty dining options are so plentiful and the included dining options are so plentiful. So they're really good for some of these itineraries where you're going to be on the ship a long time. When you're sailing out of New Jersey and you're going south, usually your first port day is somewhere in Florida. That's as far as you can really make it in one day. And I would say about 2/3 of the ship will stay on board as opposed to getting off in Port Canaveral. And then now you're in Bahamas or Caribbean destinations. And then when you come back, you have 2 straight days at sea usually, right? So you've got a lot of time on the ship. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind when you're looking at itineraries that are sailing out of the North Atlantic, because you got a lot of time on board and you want to make sure you're on a ship that has not just tons of stuff on board. Royal Caribbean has tons of stuff and the other cruise lines don't necessarily have as much, but they have the right things for your family. So if you are a really active family, I really think this is my first recommendation. And if you're intimidated by the size of some of those mega ships, let's look at Liberty, because it really is a good transition cruise ship from my Disney Cruise Line clients that are considering Royal, but not quite sure if they want the 6,000 passenger commitment.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like when I think of Royal, I automatically think of those mega ships, but I
Mhm.
love that perspective too of having plenty to do on board that you actually resonate with. Because if you just want to
Yeah.
relax by the pool, that's
Then
different than if you've got
that's different.
kids who want to run around or I mean, heck,
Mhm.
I want to do go-karts and bumper cars. That sounds awesome. That sounds so awesome.
Yes. But such a, like, you didn't even know, Rebecca, that's the perfect segue. If you just want to relax, let's talk celebrity. So a celebrity is doing Bermuda itineraries out of New Jersey on the Celebrity Silhouette. And this is a really great transition for my Disney Cruise Line clients with older kiddos. It's Celebrity still has great kids programming. They do. They've got a kids club, they've got kids programming, but it's really designed more for families that are traveling with their kids as opposed to families that are traveling for their kids. It's a really calm and relaxing and more upscale environment. For summer 2025, it is only Bermuda itineraries. They used to kind of alternate Bermuda and also the Canada and New England with the ship. For summer 2025, it's just Bermuda. But that's awesome. And they're in varying lengths. Some of them are 7 nights, some of them are 10 nights, which is really cool. You're at Bermuda for 5 days straight. Then you've got like 2.5 days on either end coming back to New Jersey. And it's also a size that it's a little bit bigger than the Magic and Wonder and kind of comparable to Dream and Fantasy. So it's a size of ship that's, most Disney cruisers are pretty comfortable with. So that's why I like that transition as well.
Man, I do love relaxing on vacation. And
Mhm.
I know that there's probably a couple people out there right now who are just like, okay, all of these sound great. Like, I don't know what to do. Where do I start? Reach out to Chrissy and let her
Yeah,
help
let's
you
chat.
kind of talk through. She's so good at kind of helping put the pieces of the puzzle together of what your perfect vacation is, where you want to leave from, what you want to do on board and in port. Just reach out to her. She's here to help.
Please do. And then kind of a really nice in between with lots of fun activities on board, but still like kind of good relaxation. Sorry, the room picture got cut off there, but is Norwegian, and this is Norwegian's Getaway, and it's one of their biggest ships, but not anything too crazy. Still has water slides, still has room to relax. And the coolest thing about the Norwegian Getaway and Norwegian in general is that they really pioneered what we call freestyle cruising, where there's not a set dining time. You eat where you want when you want. And all of the shows are running at all different times. So maybe, Tuesday it's going to be at 2:30, but Thursday it's going to be at 7 p.m. Like all kinds of different, the schedule's different every day. And you just go to what you want to do when you want to do it. That can be complicated. So I don't necessarily recommend it like for a first time cruiser, because really for first time cruisers, having a set schedule is great. You get on board and like everything is designed to be seamless. You do need to actually really plan out your days with Norwegian to make sure that you're hitting all of the things that are priority to you. But if you can do that, if you can apply yourself a little bit, you can get a really great value for vacation with lots of entertainment and really have that ability to like, hey, today we don't really want to go to dinner at 5 o'clock. We're having a lot of fun at the pool. Let's just go to dinner later. And on Norwegian, that works out great. So there's also the way that Norwegian runs their bookings. They have a program called Free at Sea. Now, that's deceptive marketing. You pay for it, but it's included already in your price point. It would be cheaper if we booked the cruise without it. But your booking can include drinks packages and specialty dining. Like it's 3 nights of specialty dining for a 7-night cruise. Wi-Fi, shore excursion credits, and gratuity already upfront in the booking price. So this really helps like for families that like that all-inclusive feel that like once I get on the ship, I don't have to pay for anything ever. It's really nice to book it that way with Norwegian. Whereas with Disney Cruise Line, there's not a drinks package with Disney Cruise Line, but you get on board and you're paying drink by drink. You pay for shore excursions. If you want to do paddle, you pay for that when you do it. As with Norwegian, you can kind of have it all paid up front, and it's all paid off when your cruise is paid off.
Love that. Yeah. We got a bill too recently from a Disney cruise, and I was like, oh man, those things add up quickly.
And then I put an honorable mention for MSC. Now, MSC is one that, like, it's important that we have a good consult and I know what you're looking for before I recommend it for Disney Cruise Line cruisers to switch to MSC. It's a wonderful cruise line. I love MSC a lot, but it is, I would say, a very different level of service and experience than sailing Disney Cruise Line. One other big difference is price point. It will be significantly lower in price point for a comparable, situation. Balcony room on Disney Cruise Line versus balcony room on MSC. You're going to be looking at about half the price point. So keeping that in mind, you can book 2 cruises, or you can kind of keep that
Yes.
Disney Cruise Line budget, but book a suite or higher level accommodations on board MSC, and then kind of get the service that you expect back. So it's something that we need to have a really good conversation about to make sure it's the right fit for you. But there's some really cool things about MSC as a company in general. It's all family owned. It's really neat. And their ships are really cool. They're beautiful. I was like trying to find the best picture to showcase the ship. And I was like, I think I have to just show the whole ship. But they have like crystal staircases inside. There's a whole water park on board, not just slides. There's like a jungle gym with sprayers, and they're all themed different. On this ship, it's themed like a polar theme with like penguins. And so it's super cute. Not live penguins.
So
Statues.
cool.
I should clarify, they're not live, but it's statues. But before somebody's like, I want to go on the ship that has the penguins.
Yes.
There's so many like just fun things. This is also the ship that, if you guys follow me on social media, this is where I did my F1 like montage where I pretended I was an F1 driver. It was on the ship. So it was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Simulator on the ship. And then most of these itineraries will visit MSC's private island, Ocean Key, which is a nature preserve, and it's super calm and tranquil. It's really, there's not a water park. There's not even a pool. It's a lot like Castaway. And I think that my Disney cruisers really like Ocean Key for that purpose. And the price point is super attractive of MSC. So it definitely gets an honorable mention. However, I will say that there's, entertainment is not the same. Dining is not the same. Service is just very different expectation than Disney Cruise Line. So we have to have that conversation ahead of time to make sure you know what you're getting into.
Yeah. So it's so important. And that's one of my favorite parts about, working with a travel advisor like you is you are just as invested in me having the best vacation possible as I am, because you want me to have a great time and be able to, go and share it. So making sure that you're having that conversation about what is important to you and your family when you step on board that ship or on their island or wherever you're going. And we do have the question, where should I fly into for a New York cruise?
So you can fly into JFK or LaGuardia, or you can also fly into Newark. Totally, all three airports and will totally work. I take the train up, and I will often I'll have my train booked. I'm so bad. I'll have my train booked for New York, but then I'll be like restless on the train and I'll get off at New Jersey ahead of time. Because it's really not that far space wise. So really either all three airports are fine. And what's most important is setting up, you need to get off at whatever airport you're going to have a hotel booked for that night. So it's just, we got to plan in advance. Fly in the night before, whichever airport works the best for you. It also depends a little bit on what cruise line you're booking, because some of them will do airport transfers only from specific airports. So let's keep that in mind. It's also important when sailing out of New York that there are technically two cruise ports in New York. There's a Brooklyn terminal at Red Hook, and then there's the Manhattan cruise port as well. So if you are, sailing out, both airports, New York, JFK or LaGuardia, will accommodate both cruise ports in general. Brooklyn cruise port, a lot of people stay in the New Jersey area and drive up. It's just a little bit easier, I think, and you got better hotel selection, I think. But that's just me. But all three can be accommodated, no problem.
I was going to say, the last thing you want on a cruise morning is to be staying at a hotel not near the port that you think you should be staying at. So again, lots of pieces to the travel puzzle. And somebody's asking, can you help book the hotel and airfare?
So I personally don't book airfare. Other travel agents do. I personally do not, but I will help you find the best flight for you. And I will absolutely help with the hotel, whether we book that through the cruise line or separately, either way. Every travel agent is going to operate that portion of their business a little bit differently. So I can't speak for all travel agents, but for me personally, everything but flights, I'm your girl.
Love it. Okay. And then I think we had bonus slide. I love it.
Bonus slides. It wouldn't be a Christy Praise the Tape without a bonus slide. Yeah. So I didn't give this a full slide because there's truly only 5 sailings. Virgin Voyages is not sailing out of New York for like a full season. They're doing something that, I'll be honest, you guys. So, okay. Side note in the cruise industry, Virgin Voyages is a very new cruise line, but they took a lot of influence, you can tell, from Disney Cruise Line in how their website looks and how their itineraries look. And their fleet is going to have 4 ships, right? Do you know another fleet that had 4 ships for a really, really long time, right? They made like a lot of similarities with Disney Cruise Line. It would not surprise me if Disney Cruise Line copies Virgin Voyages if this is successful, because what Virgin Voyages is doing with their newest ship, Brilliant Lady, which will launch in September of 2025 is they're doing like a United States world tour, right? And also Virgin Voyages is synonymous with music. And so that's why this is calling it the world tour. So it's only doing 5 sailings from September 5th through October 16th out of New York. And that technically that one that leaves on the 16th, it is New York to Miami. Then they're doing about 5 sailings in Miami, and then it's coming through the Panama Canal crossing. It's going to do some sailings in LA, and then it's going up to Seattle for some sailings, and then it's going to start the Alaska season. So it's pretty neat, and it would not surprise me if Disney Cruise Line does something similar, whereas instead of committing to one port for a full season, they start to do like a month and a half at New York, a month and a half, and move it around to really kind of, they've got a great contract in Port Canaveral, so they could do a New York to Port Canaveral and then a Port Canaveral over to either New Orleans or Galveston. Like they could do cool things. So if this is successful with Virgin Voyages, it would not surprise me if other cruise lines, especially Disney Cruise Line, imitate something similar. But also, if you're looking for adults only cruising out of New York, Virgin Voyages is giving you 5 opportunities to do so. There's going to be 2 Bermuda itineraries, one that leaves out of New York and goes up and explores Canada, and then one that starts in Canada and goes like into New York and then down to Miami. It's going to be really cool. I'm super excited about it in September of 2025.
I was going to say those Virgin ships just look beautiful. I know I've been eyeing them, and somebody's asking September to October is hurricane season. Do I have to be worried if I book that?
Yeah, so really, I wouldn't be super worried on any cruise line. So a couple things to keep in mind. The ocean is enormous, like truly enormous, right? Hurricanes, they are impactful for sure. But when a ship is at sea, they can try their best to stay away from it. So if you're at sea, you rarely, you may have more rocking, but most of the time, your cruise is going to be just fine. What gets impacted is when the hurricane happens to make land at the same time that your ship is at land, right? So we see port delays, we see, itineraries being adjusted like on the fly, like, hey, we're going to go to Castaway tomorrow instead of today. Sorry for the short notice, but this is what we have to do. Really, that's it. But the other thing is that hurricane season is fluctuating, right? Nature is fluctuating. So we're seeing stuff happen in May. We're seeing it happen guys, we had a tornado here in Salem, Virginia, in May. Yeah. Wild. It touched the ground even. Wild, right? So we're seeing all kinds of things in nature, but also in the cruise industry, we're seeing things happen in August, kind of becoming a more stormy month than it used to be. And we're seeing things happen in January, February, more stormy than they used to be. So I really wouldn't be too set on weather, but some things to keep in mind: purchase travel insurance, whether it's through the cruise line or through a third party, have it so that you can, decide, right? If the cruise line for some reason cancels, then fine. But you canceling your vacation because you think the weather is going to be bad, you are not being refunded by the cruise line. So you want to make sure that you have that cancel for any reason policy so you can make that choice if weather is something that's super important to you. But even if it rains on a cruise ship, you're having a better day than it being raining at home. That's how I feel.
Yes, I totally agree. And, you can be prepared for seasickness. There's all sorts of remedies out there. But at the end of the day, like Chrissy's saying, Mother Nature's got a mind of her own. And you could have terrible weather in any month of the year. I think people also forget that hurricane season's 6 months long. So it's half the year. And you can't, you can't let that be the dictator, because we've sailed in October and September and had the most perfect weather. So go on the cruise. Just go. Yes. Go. Right.
But have insurance just in case.
Yes, always insurance. Travel insurance is, Chrissy has great recommendations on that as well, whether it's for you or your family, for a trip or an annual plan. There's lots of options. So that's definitely something I would recommend talking through with her. As you guys can see, there are tons of options. I know that we all are here because we love Disney Cruise Line. Trust me, I'm like the president of the fan club, but there are other options and other really great cruise lines out there. If traveling from New York, if you don't want to get on a plane, train, or automobile, you just want to get on a ship, there are other options from New York and New Jersey. And Chrissy can help talk through all of those with you and make a customized recommendation just for you and your family. And Chrissy, are there any upcoming itinerary drops for any cruise lines coming up that might have New York in them? Heading into
the Virgin itinerary drop just literally announced like 2 weeks ago. So it's still, I would say it's upcoming. It opened, the announcement came 2 weeks ago, and it opened for booking just 5 days ago. So it's very, very recent.
New, yeah.
So that's brand new. And then other cruise lines, right? We all know in the DCL community that like we're like anxiously awaiting fall 2025. Other cruise lines, that's we can book into 2026 on Royal Caribbean. So it's summer 2025 is already available. Fall and even early 2026 is already available. So you can always message me anytime. We can start the planning, even if we're looking for something that's not totally available. You message me anytime, and we'll get you set on the alert list for sure of exactly what you're looking for.
Yes, I was going to say, Chrissy's planning services are 100% free for you to use. So let her be that resource in your planning so that she can help you plan the perfect vacation and not trying to piece it together on your own. She sailed across the world on all these cruise lines. So she's here to help be that resource in your planning. And Chrissy, thank you so much for your time and for your expertise. And we cannot wait to see all y'all on board real soon. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.